blah, blah, blah. So it's interesting to me. Here is National Post, and this is SpeakerGate. SpeakerGate blew up yesterday when new Speaker Fergus wanted to make a statement, and question period is supposed to start at 2:15 p.m. and question period had not started at 2:15 p.m. and these guys were saying it's well after 2:15 p.m. and we haven't started question period, and what the heck is going on? The speaker's out of order, basically. And I'll show you a bit of this. I'm probably going to jump around because it takes a little bit of time. It's like 6 minutes, and there's back and forth, and every time there's a statement, there's clapping, and they mute the clapping, so it's kind of hinky to watch. But we're gonna watch a little bit of it. It's probably going to be about a minute and a half, but I'll give you a flavor of what's going on. Okay, here we go.
As promised before the break week, the Speaker would like to make a statement about order and decorum in the House.
Après 8 ans de ce gouvernement, le taux d'inflation.
After 8 years with this government, inflation is the highest it's ever been in Quebec.
So at this point, Pierre Poilievre is trying to enter question period, and they've muted his mic, and Fergus is consulting with the table. So this guy got up from the table. I don't know what he's
The Honourable Member, you'll have an opportunity to start with all questions once I just make this statement to the House.
You may not be able to hear it, but Pierre says it's question period now. Okay, so I'm just going to jump ahead to Andrew Scheer, because Andrew Scheer is upset about this whole thing, and he's holding Speaker Fergus to account, saying like, this is irregular. We need to follow the rules.
Standing Order 5A, time for statements by members, oral questions, orders of the day at 2 p.m. on Mondays. Sorry, not later than 2:15 p.m. As the case may be, oral questions shall be taken up. Not may be taken up, shall be taken up. It's well past 2:15, Mr. Speaker.
Now there's more consulting between Fergus and the table, and he stands up.
Dérogé de cette habitude de commencer.
That we have moved away from starting exactly on time.
Le président, la présidence va faire cette déclaration.
The Speaker will make a statement. It's not my intention to make this a habit. But according to the standing orders, I do have the opportunity of starting oral questions after my statement.
The Honourable Member from Regina.
The Speaker ought to know when rules are not followed, when there is a derogation from a rule, when that is pointed out to the Speaker then enforces the rules. These standing orders are the property of the House. It's up to the House to decide when we're not going to follow a rule or when we're going to change a rule. This is a standing order that the House has adopted. You are a servant of the House. You should follow the standing order.
I think Mr. Scheer is right. This is a 24-minute video before they get to oral questions. Okay, so they're back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. There's probably more gems, but I thought it was good to show you when Speaker Fergus said, we're moving away from starting exactly on time. This is a leftist trope. It's white supremacy to be on time, right? Like this is one of those things that is being eroded, and that is therefore eroding our institutions by not following the rules, as Andrew Scheer eloquently explained. And I have been in situations where people are procedurally incorrect. Andrew Scheer was correct. Speaker Fergus was incorrect. Andrew Scheer was trying to articulate that to the House, and the House responds with a big groan. Oh, and I've been there, man. I've been sitting there saying and it's like the unpopular opinion. We're all sitting around a dinner table and somebody says something and I say, well, actually, here's actually how it works. And then the whole table groans, but I'm right and everybody knows I'm right, but they just don't want to hear it, right? Frustrating. William responds to SpeakerGate, and he says, House Speaker is unfit for the job. This is an absolute joke. Greg Fergus seems to be filibustering and is delaying question period. What a joke. This is absolutely ridiculous. Why is Greg Fergus stalling and not respecting conservative points of order? Because he's a liberal and he's got the full support of the Liberal cabinet, right? And here's Canada Buster, and he says, Greg Fergus needs to step down as Speaker. His charade yesterday was completely illegal. We can't go a single day without Liberals embarrassing this country. Yeah, yes, it's terrible. It's awful and terrible. And they're going to love Speaker Fergus. They already love. This was a show of force, a show of power. He knew he was going to break the rules. He knew either they were going to call him out on it, and he was going to filibuster and win because he has the support of the NDP and the Liberal caucus, right? So he knew he was going to win. He knew he was going to fight, and he was hoping either, well, they fight and then he wins, or they don't say anything at all, and then the Liberals that's a signal that the Liberals can do whatever they want. So now there's going to be a fight about procedure. So it's going to be interesting to see if Mr. Poilievre moves. So like Speaker Fergus won this round, but Mr. Poilievre can now move motions to undermine the Speaker's power because the Speaker's disobeying the rules of the House. And he probably will because that's what a good leader would do in this situation. If you get given ammunition like that, you fire it off because you should. And I mean, strategically, does he have somebody else in mind for Speaker? Can the Speaker being incorrect lead to a confidence issue, right? And especially when they've got the Liberals and the NDP, because the Liberals and the NDP, that's the majority, right? So I don't know how you'd utilize the Speaker's missteps or the Speaker ignoring the rules to force, an election or bringing down the government somehow. But that would be cool. That would be nice. But I don't think that that exists. But if you can, and the Speaker not following the rules is ammunition, you should use the ammunition against the Liberals. And Poilievre seems to be doing that. Amazing Polly. Let's talk about apples. Everybody and his dog is talking about apples, and Pierre Poilievre chomping on an apple while taking this reporter down. And I showed you the really most important part where he's saying, like, just tell me how I'm Trump-like. Which people are saying those things? Which things are they saying specifically? Tell me an example. He dismantled this guy's attempt to dismantle him. And everybody's taking notice of this, but it stinks to high heaven. I thought yesterday, is the Apple thing really that viral? Or is everybody liking this Apple thing really? Why? Amazing Polly says, see the so-called independent alternative media clique at work here influencing Canadian politics. Canadian Prime Minister candidate makes a video, likely a staged video. Ian Cheong, shares it with a huge audience, creating a cool factor. David Sachs retweets. Sachs is a venture capitalist guy who has investments to protect. Viral? No. Pushed? Yes. So yeah, Ian Miles Chong sits on Twitter all day and does news. Which, I mean, hey man, I'm not I kind of do the same thing, but I don't sit on Twitter all day. I do it in the in-between times. I'm not being paid by Twitter because I'm not being paid by Twitter. I don't have enough engagement on Twitter. There's like one of the criteria that I don't meet on Twitter. So whatever, it is what it is. But fundamentally, that's not how I do this thing that I do. And so people like that are paid, make partnerships with people who want to go viral, like Pierre Poilievre. And Pierre Poilievre can't buy the mainstream media in Canada. So who does he buy? He buys the second tier media in Canada, and he buys the second tier media in the States, because a lot of people in Canada are watching those people. Maybe even more people in Canada are watching those people, right? Then they're watching Canadian news because they're not watching me, right? So or maybe they are and they're just getting scrubbed. But James Woods is talking about Pierre Poilievre taking down this news guy. Pierre is so great, says James Woods. Wish we had more like him in our country. And I'll show you the response to that. I think we've all gone mad, says, warms my heart to see this taking off the way it has, showing the world we're not imbeciles like our current prime minister. Here is Cat Turd saying, I love this guy, right? He's responding to James Woods' tweet. There's also an Elon Musk response. Was this one the Elon Musk response? Elon Musk saw it as well. Joe Blow responds to Cat Turd saying, you wouldn't love him if you've been following Canadian politics closely for the last 3 years. 1, he sat on his hands and said nothing for 2 years of lockdowns and mandates. 2, he's 100% in favor favor of endless billions of taxpayer dollars going to Ukraine. 3, his party voted to ban gender reassignment procedures and protect women's only spaces, but he refuses to represent them. 4, he's 100% in favor of record high mass immigration. 5, he called Christine Anderson a vile racist. 6, he thinks Canada should work towards net zero carbon. His entire campaign strategy is to use a bunch of clever one-liners and phrases to distract people from the fact that he's a full-blown liberal. So I don't know about full-blown liberal, but very, very blue underneath, or excuse me, very, very red underneath that blue exterior. This is Ian Miles Chong being responded to by Elon Musk. Musk says, I've never heard of Pierre Poilievre before, but this interview is fire and hilarious, he says. So interesting. Polling Canada puts Poilievre 14 points up of Trudeau and 15 points up on Singh for best prime minister for polling. And this is Polling Canada. Again, this is only 1,800 people. This is not a representative poll. This is at best an online survey. And I don't know even if it's weighted. Angus Reid, I don't even know if it's weighted. Angus Reid has forums that you can belong to. And then you can, I don't know, talk on the forums, I guess. I don't know if there's any conversation piece of that, but you can be a member of the Angus Reid website. And then they'll send you surveys and things to fill out. And so I don't know if they're weighting their surveys or how exactly they're coming to these conclusions, but it seems like a changing of the guard. It seems like we're being led in a certain direction. Here's more branding. They put money into the Apple thing. They knew they were putting money into the Apple thing. They told the ministers and the leadership, the cabinet, the shadow ministers and the leadership in the House, et cetera, like Andrew Scheer, the House leader, one of them, he did a video talking about apples. What would happen if Justin Trudeau purchased 400 billion apples? And it's a good little video. Like, it's fine. He talks about inflation using apples to talk about competition, but it goes to bolster the theory that this was astroturfed campaign, not a viral campaign, an astroturfed campaign, which means money. Okay, here's just a little bit of Andrew Scheer's shtick. Okay, here we go.
What would happen to the price of apples if the government announced that it was going to buy hundreds of billions of apples? Well, obviously, the price would go up, and you would have to compete with the government to buy an apple. Prices would skyrocket as demand shoots through the roof, but the supply stays the same. That's exactly what happens with money. Canada has experienced the fastest growth in interest rates in all of our...
Right. So, I mean, and it's fine. It's a good little device. It works to get his point across, and it aligns with the Apple branding. That's the point. So it's interesting to me, but compelling. It's just branding. It's just one of those things. It's gonna go away by the next election cycle. I'm not sure the Apple thing is going to work, but they'll have more campaigns like that. It worked. This one worked, and it put Poilievre. It made him look good, right? So they'll do more of it. Patriot Smoothie says, Tamara Lich, this is talking about the Tamara Lich trial. Tamara Lich and Chris Barber's criminal trial day 19. The trial has now gone 3 days longer than it was originally scheduled to take, with no conclusion in clear sight. Follow this thread for Patriot Smoothie's update from the courtroom. The Crown is still making their case, which was originally scheduled to take 10 days. They haven't proven anything. The defense hasn't even started on their case. Tamara Lich and Chris Barber stand accused of numerous crimes, including mischief, counseling offenses, and others. They are presumed innocent. If convicted, the pair face a possible 10 years in prison. So far, court testimony has focused heavily on the sound of horns and the smell of idling engines. There has been other accusations as well, but the common theme is the sound of horns. Do you think the accused crime deserves the desired punishment? What about just having to attend the trial so far? What about the almost 2 years of having criminal charges over their heads, all the traveling, lawyers' fees, and everything else? Is the case in the public interest, in your opinion? Absolutely not. The whole thing is completely insane. Here's Post Millennial, and they say, exclusive lead plaintiff against Canadian Freedom Convoy leaves court in tears after contradicting previous testimony. Shocker. This is Zexi Lee, of course. Zexi Lee contradicted previous testimony on several occasions Monday as she became the latest Ottawa resident witness for the prosecution to appear at the trial of Freedom Convoy organizers Tamara Lich and Chris Barber. She arrived at the Ottawa courthouse on Elgin Street with police protection. Lich and Barber are charged with mischief, counseling others to commit mischief, intimidation, and obstructing police as leaders of the Freedom Convoy that polarized residents in Ottawa in 2022 and arguably began to roll back COVID mandates. There were quite a number of areas where she has been saying things all along and has never really been challenged, Greenspan told reporters outside the Ottawa courthouse. I think we can all look at the kind of cross-examination that took place in front of the Public Order Emergency Commission, POEC, and it paled in comparison with what she was confronted with today. Greenspan challenged Lee about whether she remembered cursing at protesters when she claimed she was targeted by a truck carrying jerry cans full of fuel for the truckers. Lee said she had cursed, but Greenspan reminded her with a transcript from the POEC that she had allowed, I may have said that. Greenspan asked why she had been talking to her lawyer over the lunch break. Lee testified that she was only discussing lunch plans and had only talked to Talman for not more than 5 to 10 minutes. Greenspan asked whether she had discussed her testimony with Talman, which would have been a violation of court orders. Shortly thereafter, Lee left the courtroom in tears. During her testimony, Lee continually described the Freedom Convoy protest as an occupation. Defense counsel Diane Magus suggested Lee find another descriptive, saying, "I object for the continuous use of the word occupation. It's very irritating to my ears." Magus said the word was provocative, especially since Lee is seeking damages from the Freedom Convoy and is quite invested. Lee focused her testimony on complaining about the amount of honking she said the truckers were responsible for, something she said went on for most of the day, if not all day. It was difficult to live as a human being, she claimed. Lee also inferred that a truck that she believed was driven by a convoy protester backed into her during an altercation. But on Monday, she acknowledged there was no contact, only because I moved out of the way, she said. Right. Zexy Lee, indeed. It is not one of... I don't believe that Zexy Lee is above board, right? Like, the whole persona of Zexy Lee feels made up. It feels like a Mission Impossible character. It feels like somebody who's just slotted in to do a job. And once it's gone, she'll move back to China or something like that. Something... just to remove her from the public eye, and it'll be like, ooh, it was just a mirage, like Pokeroo, right? It feels like a cardboard cutout. That's what it feels like. It is not something that is real. It is something that is there to achieve an objective. Once the objective is achieved, you wash your hands of it, you pull off the Mission Impossible mask, and you're gone, right, in the wind. So it's, I don't know. It's very... Zexy Lee, and everything that comes out of her mouth is suspect at best. And everything she does, showing up with police security and things like that, everything she does is suspect. Everything she does raises red flags for me. Let's move on. Here's money. And Leslyn Lewis is talking in the House of Commons. She says, when Canadians are selling their possessions to keep a roof over their head, we know that Liberal policies have eroded the quality of life in this country. People are working 2 or 3 jobs just to pay monthly expenses. Canadians are losing hope in ever getting ahead. And she's not wrong. Here's just a small clip from a 3-minute speech.
Every day I hear from Canadians that after 8 years of this Liberal NDP government, they are unable to pay their bills. Recently, Rob wrote to me telling me that he can barely afford his mortgage payments. And so he and his wife have started to sell off their personal possessions to pay their monthly bills. Wow. He realizes that this Prime Minister just isn't worth the cost. When will this Prime Minister stop his irresponsible spending, which is driving up inflation, driving up interest rates, so that Canadians can afford their homes again?
Yeah.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
The housing crisis, as we know, is underpinned ultimately by a crisis in supply or the lack thereof. What this government is doing is partnering with municipalities across the country for federal dollars.
There's a lack of supply, so we're increasing immigration while we partner with municipalities to build houses for the new people coming into the country. That's all they're doing. They're not doing anything to solve the problem. They're not doing anything to help anybody in Canada. They don't work for Canadians. Wall Street Silver says, if the national debt is growing way faster than the economy, then we are effectively headed for hyperinflation eventually. The Fed is going to be forced to create money printing digitally to buy the debt to keep the interest rate low. The only way to stop this is to cut spending, which they won't do, right? And that's the same in Canada as well. They won't stop the immigration to end the problem that they're creating with the immigration. They won't stop the spending to end the problem they're creating with the spending, you see? And we are the victims of their bad policies. And that is bad. That's generally bad. Here's Frank Grimes. He says, I was at a Rogers store today in North York for the first time in 20 years. In Toronto, the door was locked. A salesperson unlocked it to let me in. I said, this is ridiculous. This is not Canada. And she said, the theft is out of control and they have no choice but to do this. Theft is out of control, eh? My prediction about something like that is that fundamentally they're going to use the theft as an excuse to roll out digital identities and say the only way, and this isn't me talking, like I'm not making this up. This is what people have been saying for the last 6 months, talking about the theft in San Francisco and in California. Places like Kroger's and not Kroger's, there was a pharmacy, was putting their products behind glass shelves so people would have to come and unlock it, but they were just being smashed. So they just closed the stores. So what they're doing is two things. Either closing the stores, so your only option is online delivery, so you don't have to go out, so it's effectively a lockdown, but by another name. Or two, we'll have the store open, but the only way to gain access is to have a digital ID that we accept. And so you scan in, and if you commit a crime, we'll just debit your digital ID for the stuff that you took, right? You don't even have to walk out. You don't even have to go to the cashier. Once you pick it up off the shelf and walk out of the store, your account is automatically charged for the items you took. Right. And like, I think that's what they're going for. And the theft and the crime is just a growing pain on the way to this new way of doing things, because otherwise there's no problem that the digital ID solves, right? Cash, there's nothing that we need digital ID for. So they're creating the demand. White North is responding to Melanie Joly. He says they're in Haiti. Because why not be in Haiti? Of course they're in Haiti. Melanie Joly says, here at Canada CARICOM Summit, we're here for the people of Haiti. We're furthering our commitments by launching a multi-year training program for the Haitian National Police and allocating $3.4 million to address firearms violence as we continue to support Haitian-led solutions. Right. I'm sure that that's really what we're doing down in Haiti. And White North says, how many hundreds of millions of dollars are we into Haiti at this point? How much money have we sent them? Because it seems like a lot, and we're not getting a lot in return. Justin Trudeau says, the only reason I wanted to show you this, and the reason that it's the thumbnail today, is I think Marcy Ian looks ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. What the heck is she wearing? She was like, I've got to get my best clown suit on. Like, are you joking me right now, Marcy Ian? It's hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious. The tweet doesn't even matter. They're in Haiti. Prime Minister Trudeau says, Prime Minister of Haiti and Minister Marcy Ian and I spoke today about strengthening the Canada CARICOM partnership. We also discussed fighting climate change, building resilient economies, and supporting the Haitian people. On these and other issues, we'll keep working together. This is one of those situations. I was talking about Israel-Palestine and saying we have to deal with where we are. We can't deal with 100 years ago and like who was in charge of the land then, or 50 years ago and who was in charge of the land then, et cetera, et cetera. We have to deal with where we are now. And so like the Haitian people have a leader, I guess. This is the Prime Minister of Haiti, I think, Commonwealth of Dominican. So the Prime Minister of Dominican Republic. In Haiti, the leadership is and Dominican Republic and Haiti share an island. Okay. So in Haiti, the leadership is between three different factions, I think, three different specific groups that are vying for leadership. And so if we support one over the others, that's not great. I don't think I don't know enough. Why support the one over the other? What are the other arguments, right? Like it seems silly for us to go in and pretend that we can solve problems by handing money and training to people who we want to win. You know what I mean? So we're repeating the same mistakes now that we did before. I mean, like, why can't they self-govern? Why do we have to come in and stick our noses in? Are we helping or harming things? It sounds to me like we're hurting things, but everybody's pretending like this clown outfit means we're making things better. Ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I don't know nearly enough about this. I think we should absolutely not fund anything. I think we should absolutely not send our Western style policing or Western Canadian style policing down there. Like, have you seen what the Toronto police do? Like, there are things we should keep our noses to ourselves. We should keep our noses out of their business. We should let Haiti do what Haiti's going to do. And if Haiti starts coming into the Dominican Republic and saying like, we want your land or something like that, should Canada then get involved? I don't know. I don't think so. Probably not. It's not up to us. If Dominican Republic says, "Hey Canada, we'd really like your help. Here's our leadership structure. All we want to do is defend our land." then maybe there's an argument there. Like if you're going to peacekeep and say like, hold on, everybody agreed that this is the land and like you stay over there and we'll stay over here. I could get behind that, but going there and being like, you know, Canada's here and we're gonna influence who runs Haiti to benefit Canada ultimately, but you know, also the Haitian people. Give me a break. Give me a break. It's offensive and I think we should just stop it. But again, I understand that's not realistic because the powers that be have created a situation where we're interdependent on different countries. So like the politics of Asia do matter to Canada because of the demographics of Canada now, the high-speed communication, and the trade relationships, right? So like all of these things, you can't just leave a country alone. But in something like Haiti, like our trade relationship is minimal. In this situation, I feel like we're sticking our nose where it doesn't belong. And we don't have the resources. With what? We don't have the resources for what we're doing now. Moving on. Paul says, 7 Alberta. Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.